Hello and welcome to the Fire in the Belly show. Today we have myself, Mighty Pete, and we're joined by the Amanda Rafferty. Hello and welcome to the show.
Why, thank you very much, Pete. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, listen, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. So, Amanda, tell us, who are you, what do you do, and where are you from?
Amanda Rafferty, as you said. I originally I'm from Warren Point, but I am living in a little village called Points Pass. And I am mum to 3 kids, James, who's 19, Emma, 17, and Aoife, 13. So I often say the hormones, etc., or you can just imagine the joys. I am mentoring now at this stage. I mentor people who, I guess, are starting again. We all go through phases of, life throwing you curveballs and you have to kind of reinvent and start again. So that's what I focus on at the minute after starting again myself 2.5 years ago after separation. And I also have a podcast called The Trials and Tribulations of a 40-something. So I think that's it, kind of in a nutshell.
Lovely, lovely. So, tell me, do 40-somethings have trials and tribulations?
I could write 10 books. I was going to say I could write a book, but no, absolutely. It is, but sure, that's life, isn't it? You're always very few of us get through life without some kind of trial or tribulation, or 100 of them. So the idea behind the wee podcast was, basically, it's in the title, The Trials and Tribulations, that very few of us get through life without some kind of challenge or struggle or obstacle. But then can turn your life around in a positive way, and then that can kind of give, when people hear that from other people, it gives them a sense of hope that they can do the same. So like I said, that's where I found myself 2.5 years ago. And yeah, it's a daunting place to be when you're kind of starting again, but it can be done when you've got the right people around you and the right mindset to believe that you can start again. So I'm not saying it's bloody easy, but every day brings its own kind of struggle. But, you keep putting one foot in front of the other and moving forward. So, yeah, so that's where I am today.
Makes sense. Tell me, would you typically be a sort of a glass half full or a glass half empty sort of a woman?
I like to think I'm a glass half full kind of person that has been challenged over the years. But I do, like you hear that, that term kind of toxic positivity being thrown about quite a lot recently. And I don't know if I would fall under that umbrella, in that my way of coping with things is I'll have my pity party and I'll have cake, everything, just I'll go all out with my pity party. But then I will think, right, hold on a wee second, let's put this into perspective. Look at what somebody else is experiencing. So then it kind of gets me back on track again. And then I was reading that you shouldn't really be doing that, because what you're in turn doing is diminishing your problems and what you're going through as if they don't really matter. But the way I look at it, it isn't really like that. It's for me that I need to do that, because otherwise, if I don't, then the pity party might just go on a wee bit longer than I would like it to. So it kind of puts things into perspective, but I do always look for the positive in what's happening. It isn't, I'm realistic as well. Like, there's some days you're searching and you're searching and you're going, why I just can't find the positive. But then you just go back to bed and wake up again tomorrow. It's a new day. But you have to keep it real, and you have to, like, as I'm sure you've seen with social media and stuff, you're bombarded with the idyllic life and picture perfect, and it appears that everyone's got their life together, when in fact, very few people have it just right. Life doesn't, be as idyllic as what social media would have you think it is. Now, having said that, we are, you'd be grateful for what you've got and all that kind of stuff. But No, I do think, back to your question, yes, I like to think I'm a glass half full person.
Talk to me about this pity party. It always can be a fun place to be, you know, that sort of reset. Is it a sort of a one day thing, or does it go on longer?
I tend to, a day, it can be a dipping in and out. It can be, right, I'm really feeling sorry for myself, and then I'll, you know, have a cry or whatever, and then I'll sort of, right, Amanda, come on, catch yourself on, keep it together, and then I'll be okay. And then maybe an hour or so later, it'll be, oh, but, and then I'll go through that process again. And then, but yeah, probably, I don't know if it'd be a day, probably, as I say, in and out, dip in and out, and then I have a stern talk to myself and go, right, Amanda, for God's sake, Jesus, would you catch yourself on and dry your eyes? But I will acknowledge, I know it's so important to acknowledge those emotions. You know, I don't tend to cry in front of people. And even, like I said to you at the start, like, this is surreal, me talking about me to somebody else, because normally I'm so used to other people talking about themselves. I'll dip in and out talking about myself, but I'll do it a wee bit, and then I don't know why that is. So you're very privileged, Pete, that you're getting to
flip the microphone on you. Yeah. Tell me, when you talk about there, you know, you're saying, you know, telling you to catch yourself on. Whose voice is that? Is that you, or is that somebody else in your life, or, you know, where does that come from?
Probably a combination. It is, yeah, I don't know, probably my mum and my dad. My dad passed away just over he'd be 3 years dead now in September. And he would have been very much, you know, you just get up and you get on with it, because of different things that he had been through in life. And you look at, do you know, the way when you look at people and you see the strength in somebody and their strength of character, and he was very much like that. And my mum, like, she's 5'0", but would be very much a strong person. And there would have been that kind of mentality, I guess, growing up, was you don't lie under it. You keep going, you put your best foot forward. And I always would have been quite a, I don't know, like an independent person, and with regards asking for help and things like that there. So I guess, I don't know if that's related to it, but whenever you're having your kind of pity party, I don't necessarily reach out to people and ask for help, so to speak. It's not because I'm thinking, I can do this myself, I don't want to be bothering anyone. It's just, I've always been that kind of, I'll sort it out myself, and then I'll put my face back on, and then I'll go back out and face the world again. I don't know if that's a good way to be, but I know no different, I guess.
No, absolutely. Listen, we all have our mechanisms to, you know, to cope with different things in our life, you know, and there's no right, there's no wrong, right? You know, it's just as whatever way has worked for us, typically.
Yeah. Whether it works or not, I don't know, but it's got me to 47 with, I was going to say unscathed, but no, I haven't really been unscathed. But yeah, but you go through life and you try things, and if they work, they work. And like, even with the whole, you know, personal development end of things, it's something that I would have been into for years, but I would have dipped in and out of it. And when you stop doing it and then sort of start again, you realize, actually, I feel so much better when I'm doing this kind of thing. Why do I not keep doing it? And then you dip out of it again, and you go, and it's like, no, you have to remain consistent. You can't just do it for a wee bit and then stop doing it and then wonder why things are going a wee bit crazy and then come back into it again. You have to, so I've learned, you have to keep doing it, one day at a time.
I love it. Before we get into it, really, I mean, are you an ugly crier, or are you a good crier?
No. I'm I'm a gorgeous crier, Pete. What are you talking about?
It's always interesting, people is like, no, I'm okay with the cry. It's like, nope, I'm an ugly one. It's like, yeah, it all comes out, so it's always just interesting.
But whenever you are like starting to cry, and then to really cry properly, I think you have to look in a mirror at yourself, because then you really feel sorry for yourself, because you're looking at your wee sad face and you're just like, so to get a proper, real looking deep cry, I think you should look at yourself when you're crying.
Makes sense. Let it all out, That's what it's all
exactly.
about.
Yeah.
Tell us, are you where you're supposed to be now, do you think? What's your current status?
No. I think I still have, and you know what's ironic, actually, Pete? I'm so good, praising myself here, but at supporting other people and encouraging other people. But it's funny, whenever it comes to yourself, there's always that, well, not, I don't know, maybe you're different, but there's that self-doubt, and that, like, there's so much that I want to still do, but then there's still that kind of pull that I'm going, oh, I don't know if I could do it. Whereas if it was somebody else, I would be going, yes, of course you can. Come on, you can do this. You can do this. But myself, I don't know, it's a slightly different. Now, I'm just getting back into the mentoring kind of thing. I took, I've said this before, I took a sabbatical that kind of lasted a lot longer than what I thought it would have lasted, because as I say, my dad passed away, it'll be 3 years now, coming in September, and then my marriage ended a few months after that. So I had the mindset of, how can I be mentoring other people when my own life is kind of falling apart? How can somebody take what I'm saying as, do you know what I mean? Like, you'd be going, here, hold on a wee second. You're like, relationship ended. How can you advise me on something to do with whether it's relationships or being the best version of you or believing in yourself and all that there, whenever clearly it hasn't worked for you? But then I kind of realized, but actually to me, I feel it makes me more relatable, because I've had the postnatal depression. I've had the about 7, 8 years ago, I took, from a sore throat, I took strep A that turned toxic, and my body went into toxic shock. So I've had the near-death experience. I've had the battles with confidence, the dark thoughts. I've had the marriage breakdown. I've had grief. So there's been lots of things that I've had that I can relate to with other people and have more of an understanding. I'm not saying that what I have done is the only way, but I don't know, do you know, whenever somebody has gone through, like I have talked about it before, like thank goodness I've never experienced a miscarriage, but I wouldn't go and try to say to somebody who's gone through a miscarriage, oh, well, what about trying this or what about trying that? Because I have personal experience, obviously, of being pregnant and having babies, but I would rather somebody who's actually been through something like that has I think, more empathy and sympathy and a better understanding, because they're coming from personal experience. So then I said, even though I was going through a phase of thinking, like, what can I, like, as I said, as a mentor or a coach, how can I help somebody else? And then I realized, but you can, because I've had all that experience as well.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's hard to go through, right? But it's what you make of it, or what you take away from the experiences, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And as I said, I'm not saying that my way or how I have dealt with it is the right way or the only way, but it was what worked for me. And you can sort of say to other people, look, try this, see what happens. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, well, then try something else. But it is every day is a school day, Pete. You're always learning, always growing. But I do think, going back, it's hilarious. I go off on wee tangents and fucking, like, it takes me half an hour to answer one question. But am I where I am where I'm meant to be at this moment in time, but I still know I still have so much more that I want to achieve and I want to get. So,
well, looking forward to hearing more about that. Tell me, first of all, what does fire in the belly mean to you?
Fire in belly means to me, sorry, it's just two of my children have just walked in, so I'm going to let them hurry along. Thank you. You can always depend on them coming from school. Fire in my belly it's just that desire, that passion for something that you feel that you can make a change, you can do something different. Just that, I think so many people have lost the fire in their belly. But it's there. You just have to find it again. You just have to find whatever your purpose is, whatever your passion is, to reignite that fire.
Is it something you have?
I have now again. Yeah, I had lost it. Very much. This kind of area, like personal development, was something I got into about 10 years ago. My ex didn't really understand it and would have been wouldn't have supported what I was doing. So his voice had kind of taken over with regards my belief in what I wanted to achieve with coaching and all that kind of stuff. So I lost the fire. I'm not like finger pointing and saying, oh, it's all because of him or whatever, but the people around you, the ones that you feel are going to be your biggest cheerleader, turn out to be your biggest critic. And you can't help but allow their opinion to cut in, because you're thinking, okay, well, these people know me the most or know me the best. If they don't think that I'm capable of doing what I would like to do, how can other people aren't going to believe it either. I know we ultimately have to believe in ourselves, but I still think as much as you believe in yourself, if the people closest to you start to doubt your ability to do something, you can't help but allow that to kind of cloud your vision. So I would have done it a wee bit and then would have kind of backed off, and then I would have got back into it again and then I backed off. But now that I'm doing it properly, yes, that fire is back again, because I know it's something that I'm so passionate about. I know it's cliche, I want to help people and all that there, but I do, in that, as I say, people who are starting again, whether it is after a relationship breakup or marriage breakdown or a career change or whatever, it's never too late to start again. Whether you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, I know some people feel, oh, sure, I've got it, it's sale. I just have to make do with who I am now. So that's why this is I really want to kind of focus on, and why I'm so passionate about it, because like every nerves to have the chance to live a life that are in their brain, rather than just, trudging through life and kind of, again, cliche living or not exist. Or what is this thing? Don't just exist. Live your life. Don't just exist. No, it'll come back to me the same. But you know the one I'm trying to say. So say that's why. I feel very passionate about this, and the fire in my belly. Yeah, it's still, it's not on full throttle, Pete, but I'm getting there. I'm definitely getting there.
What's your biggest why?
My biggest why is I only allowed one.
Okay, you can have a couple if we're going to go that
way. My biggest why, I suppose you can go the usual, like my kids and all that kind of stuff, but I think it is because I have been that person who has been stuck in a place where you feel as if this maybe sounds really dramatic, like kind of suffocating, because you know that you have so much to give, whether it is in your career, whether it is in your personal life, whatever it is. My why is just getting people to realize you can have whatever it is you want to have. Don't live your life through the expectations of other people, or living your life based on what other people want for you. You have to, whatever it is that you want for yourself. So it's just my why is to keep getting that message across that you deserve to have the best freaking life, because at the end of the day, you know, like I say, when you're freaking at the end of your life, rocking back and forward, and you're going, oh, I wonder if it's better to freaking be sitting going, oh Jesus, do you remember I tried this and it didn't work? But then, do you remember I did that and it did work? So, you know, yeah, to remind people, as I said, to live their freaking best life. And again, I know I'm full of cliches and full of all those kind of things, but I have seen it so many times, Pete, over the years, like people who are just dead behind the eyes, because they're just, as I said, they're trudging through life. They're just going from one day to the next. They have lost who they are. They've lost their identity. They've lost their passion. They've lost what fundamentally makes them who they are, because they've spent so many years pleasing other people, doing what other people, as I said, viewed on. Like, we all have a different perception of life. We all have different limiting beliefs. We all have all those kind of things. So when do you know the way, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, do you know if you had an idea and you were wanting to do something, and you maybe said it to 5 people, and they said 4 out of those 5 people went, oh Jesus, I don't know about that. That doesn't sound like a good idea to me. And you might have one that goes, actually, yeah, go for it. But those 4 people are judging that based on their own personal viewpoint. And so many people hold back because of somebody else's own perception and what has happened to them in their life and what fears that they have. And I said, so going back to my why, it is just to constantly keep reminding people, this is your life. You have to live your life on your terms, not on somebody else's terms. There you go.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, in that instance, I mean, what inspires you the most then?
Actually, you see people, and I've seen it even more so since I've started doing the podcasts, people who have actually been dealt the horrendous things in life and experiences, but yet have turned it around and have, you know, they've had the mindset, right, this isn't going to beat me. I am still determined to have the best life I can possibly have. So I'm more kind of inspired by people like that, who never give up, who have an inner strength and a resilience that is just, you know, commendable. It's just like, wow. And those are the people that will motivate me when I'm having my pity party, to go, right, come on, you can do this, you can get through this, because I'm reminded, like I said, and I'm sure you're the same, when you hear different stories and different experiences and all, and you're going, gee, like, really? Oh my God, like, how have you continued to keep putting one foot in front of the other? But they have, and instead that inspires me to continue doing what I'm doing, to continue getting up each day, to continue sharing whatever message I have to share, whether one person hears it or 100 people hear it. Yeah, so that's what inspires me.
Mm. And do you think people get you? You know, is it?
I don't know. There'll be some that do. Whenever you do get feedback and people saying, oh, I needed to hear that today, or you know, you're very relatable, or you keep it real, or I get I'm funny quite a lot. Maybe that's a slight exaggeration, not quite a lot, the odd time. But all I can do is say it in a way that make sense to me, and the people who are going to get me are going to get me.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Mini Amanda.
Mini Amanda, right? Okay. Well, I'm the youngest of 3 kids, and I have an older brother and older sister. And my older sister, when she was born, she had a condition called hydrocephalus. And now she's grand, she's fine, and had a shunt put in and what have you and all that there. But there was probably so much attention put on to my sister as a baby, that whenever I came along then, I probably, and this is probably where the independence comes from, I had to, I'm not saying I had to do a lot. But I did. Like Mummy has said it many times, over the years, that she would have been carrying my sister up the stairs and I would have been coming crawling up after her, or the cushions would have been propped up in underneath me for the bottle, whereas my sister would have been getting looked after, which is totally understandable, and I get that. And my dad, God love him, he used to say, he'd be sitting watching the TV, and the next thing I would come running in just in a vest, that was it, and dance in front of the TV. But now the adult in me knows I was just looking for attention, some kind of attention. Somebody just look at me. I had a little imaginary friend called Jacqueline Binns, which I think was very advanced for whatever, 3 years of age, coming up with that name. And it always kind of was I suppose that's somewhere embedded in me, the am I enough kind of thought. And as I said, I totally understand my parents were doing what they needed to do at that time. But then it obviously has had some kind of impact, I guess. I don't know. I delve a wee bit and then I'll stop and then I'll park it. And yeah, it was always kind of that feeling of looking for attention. I just need attention. Somebody to just say, Amanda, I see you. And then, like say, even like going to school and things like that, I did have friends, but it was always, you felt as if you were kind of just on not the outside, but you just felt as if you were kind of on the outside. And then I said, whenever my ex-husband, I met him when I was 19, got married when I was 25. And even throughout that, you always kind of questioned, am I enough? Am I enough? Am I a good enough wife? Am I a good enough mommy? And I suppose after I had James and a touch of postnatal depression, I didn't, do you know the way they tell you that as soon as a baby's born, you have this rush of love, and I didn't have that. And probably even to this day, I would feel so guilty about that there, because I didn't have that immediate rush of love. So I would have questioned, am I a good enough mummy? Why, like, mummies are meant to have that rush of love. The books say it, the magazines say it. Everyone tells you that you're meant to have that, and I didn't have it. And that tortured me for so long. And I felt so guilty about that there. So as I said, even from like as a wee child, that am I enough? Am I enough? Show me attention, give me attention. Somebody please see me, somebody, anybody. Is it still there? It probably is a little bit. Yeah, if I delve really deep, it probably will be there a lot. But I tend not, I don't know if that's a healthy way to do it. You know, I tell you to let sleeping dogs lie sort of thing. So just leave it be. But yeah, as a child, I was always very much, wanting to be seen.
Were you running into school or running out of school? What was your direction of travel?
Sorry, was that again, Pete?
I was saying, were you running into school or running out of school? What was your direction of travel?
I didn't mind school, I have to say. Yeah, I always probably the usual, talk too much and all that kind of stuff. But I know you might find that surprising. But yeah, oh, no, I didn't mind school, I have to say. It didn't cause me any great anxiety, or I didn't dread going into it. Could I have done better at school? Absolutely. If I maybe had have talked less and paid more attention. But you know, hindsight's a great thing.
What were most of your school reports saying? Was it pretty much that, or?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Oh my God. No, I wouldn't have been shy. Again, I'm wondering. Now I'm going to psychoanalyze myself. I wonder, is it the talking? Is it just like for attention? Hello, somebody, anybody. If I talk, will you see me? So yeah, it maybe is. I don't know. But as I said, like, you know, your parents are only doing what they know at that particular time. And like, don't get me wrong, Jesus, I had a lovely childhood, but I was always I was always the one that got shouted at the most. I if there was anyone gonna, because you know the way back in 40 years ago, you were allowed to slap and all that kind of stuff, and the wooden spoon never connected with me. It was just the threat of the wooden spoon. But I distinctly remember when I was 11 and I didn't get the 11 plus. Surprise, surprise, probably because I talked too much and didn't pay enough attention. And I went down the town one day. It was the day of the results. I'd went down the town to get mummy something, and I was gone for like 4 or 5 hours, and she hadn't a clue where I was. And then as I was coming back up home, it felt as if every second person was saying, your mummy's looking for you. And I knew, I said, oh Jesus, I'm dead. I am so dead. And when I got back up into the house, and then I happened to look out the window, and I seen her coming walking up towards the house. And as I said, she's 5 foot nothing. And you don't mess with my mother. And she came into the house, and she ran up the stairs after me, jumped over beds after me. And my brother happened to come in. He was going, right, come on, Mommy, come on. She says, I'm gonna freaking kill her. I'm gonna kill her. Because again, I had just way off in my own wee world. And yeah, but with regard to school, yeah, it was a means to an end. If I could do it again, I probably would make more of an effort.
Wouldn't we all? You learn so much more. so different.
Well, yeah.
Thomas, what was your earliest conscious memory?
My earliest conscious memory actually is when my granddad passed away. I was 4, and we were sitting down. He passed away from cancer. And the ironic thing is that my dad passed away on the same date as my granddad from cancer, which like was mad. But anyway, and we were down in the house, and I can see it as clear as anything, even yet. I'm sitting on the wee chair at the door, and mummy and her brothers and sisters, my auntie and uncles coming in. And obviously they were all upset and all the rest of it. And mummy was saying to me, you sit there, don't you move. So of course, me being me, didn't listen. And I snuck up the stairs to see him. And I can still see him just lying in the bed with the cotton wool on his eyes and the pennies on his eyelids. So that would have been, I just turned 4 in April, and he passed away in September.
It's funny, isn't it? The different memories, and as you say, even the detail of the cotton wool and the pennies and everything.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And it's funny how it's as clear, it's so vivid. Even, you know, you kind of, and you forget about those, like you sort of think, Jesus, it's 4 years of age, you can't really remember much. I couldn't tell you anything else around that age, but I distinctly remember that as clear as anything.
So what was the plan then, you know, growing up? What were you going to be? What was the first plan?
I have no idea. But I went to school, then I went to the tech, and I did business and finance. I left the tech, and I started working in a veterinary surgeons, and I was only going to be there for a short time. And I stayed in a veterinary surgeons for about 17 years. And then when I left it, I continued working part-time after I had James and Emma. And then when Aoife came along, I decided, right, I was going to be a stay-at-home mummy. And then that's whenever the whole confidence and lack of confidence kind of kicked in. And then I was at one of those crossroads in life, not sure what I was going to do. And then my hairdresser was saying to me, he says, "Gee, Samantha, you've always been interested in fashion and that kind of stuff. What about personal shopping?" And because the confidence was so low, I had looked about it and thought, well, sure, I'll see. And eventually, a year later, I finally sent off the application form. But whenever I had completed the course and started to do personal shopping and fashion shows and makeup and all that kind of stuff, my dad actually said to me, "Do you know, that's something I thought you would have done years ago." And I says to him, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, "That's something I always thought you would have been really good at." And I said, "But why didn't you tell me?" And he says, "Well, I suppose you had to figure it out yourself." But it was something I had never thought about doing anything like that there. But the course that I did was style coaching, which was a combination of a personal stylist and a life coach. And then that's probably where the kind of the life coaching end of things came, and that I started focusing on it. But it's funny how sometimes you don't see what you think you would be good, if that makes sense. It's maybe somebody else will see, but as I said, that was my dad all over. He never really got involved. He let people, find their own way. But that was one of those occasions that I thought, like, really, Daddy, you could have just maybe given me a heads up. But yeah, so that was, I kind of just fell into it. But even with doing what I'm doing now, as I was growing up, I always tended to be the one that people came to with regards if they had something that they were worried about, or if there's something that they were needing a wee bit of guidance on or support. Like even in work on a Monday morning, the girls would have been coming, you'd have heard them coming running up the stairs as soon as I came in, and it would be, "Amanda, right, wait till you hear what happened." And my ear would have been freaking bent right down to my ankle. But I don't know if it was something that was always in me, to be a listener, to be somebody that give support, guidance, help. I don't know, but I don't know. Now that I'm doing it, it feels right.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, just to, as you say, to be doing it, giving that guide to, or listening to other people, which is it's a massive skill in itself.
Yeah.
To be able to do that. Talk to me about
I know sometimes.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, sometimes people just, while I'm saying about being, helping and supporting people, sometimes that is all people want, is to be listened to. They don't necessarily want solutions as such, but they just want to know that they're being heard. And I don't know, sometimes I find that people want to fix other people, and you can't fix other people. You have to fix yourself. But as I said, it's just sometimes, and again, maybe that goes back to me looking for attention and all that there. It was just to know that you are being seen by somebody, I think is so, so important.
It's interesting that you say, it's to be seen is important, because your language is incredibly auditory, very, very listening based, very hearing based. It's all about, saying and hearing and, listening, which is quite interesting. And yet you sort of describe as being seen as the important thing, which is quite interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I never thought of it like that, Pete. Yeah, because I think sometimes we can listen and but are we actually hearing what a person is saying? So I think that probably is why when you feel that you're being seen, I think that then means, maybe I just make this up in my head, that if I'm being seen, it means that I am also being heard if I'm being seen. Does that even make sense, Kate? Does it?
No, it does actually, because I think it's, yeah, I get it, because you can have, there's people can be, you can be heard, but actually the true you is not necessarily being seen. And as
Yeah,
you say, I mean, people for me take hearing as almost the interpretation side, but to me, actually hearing what someone's truly trying to say is actually more important than listening to what they're actually saying. If that makes sense.
oh, so true. And just when you say that, I remember a friend of mine, it was maybe about 6 months after I separated, in and around that, and I met her. I just happened to meet her in one of the wee pubs here where I live, and it was the first time I had seen her. And she said to me when she came over, and she says, Amanda, I have to say I'm not surprised. She says, you were trying to tell us for so long that you were unhappy, but nobody heard what you were saying. And it was like, see, whenever she said it, I was going, yeah. I was like, without actually saying, okay, this is what's going on, blah, 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 blah. I was probably going around about it. But it was just that she had said, like, you were trying for so long, but no one heard. And I was going, no, you freaking did. But you can't expect, like, people aren't, everyone is, caught up in their own stuff and what's going on in their own life. And like even the last year, COVID has hit people in so many different ways, on so many different levels. And I know some people might feel as if, oh, but do you know the way they'll say, oh, reach out, and you don't know who could be needing whatever. But I think for everybody this year, it has been so hard that everyone's trying to just deal with their own stuff, that you don't always be able to reach out to other people. Like in other years, whenever people are not going through what has happened, then it can, it was maybe a little bit easier. But as I said, everybody is dealing with it in a certain way, or dealing with whatever has been going on. So it's not always easy to reach out when you're kind of trying to deal with your own stuff.
Tell me, what triggered the business and finance side, for the tech? Where did that come from?
Oh, that was just one of those, oh, I have to do something. More so than, because you see, and it makes me laugh, because when it comes to the business side of what I'm doing now, I'm the first to admit, Pete, I don't know, like the marketing and all that kind of stuff. I'm like going, no, I just want to help people. But then you have to realize that, but you need to do a wee bit more than that if you're wanting to work on building a business. But it was just one of those. I'd left secondary school, and okay, I'll just kind of go up and down the whatever courses are available. Yeah, okay, I'll do that one. Oh, madness.
It's amazing the places we find ourselves because of a random tick on a box or whatever, It's like,
yeah.
Those career days, it's like,
Yeah,
I'll just do
thought
this.
went into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was exactly it. And as I said, whenever I left in the tech and went to work in the veterinary surgeons, and what kept me there, like, really, well, I suppose it's half the battle, but what kept me there for so long was the fact that I had such great crack. So, you know what I mean? It wasn't because I was getting any major job satisfaction. It was purely the vets that I had worked with, and maybe a bit of habit also, but it was just, sure, it's a bit of crack. Do you know what I mean? It pays a few bills, so.
Well, I can think of worse things to do in life, right? You can get yourself
True.
hung up on a lot of things, but yet you kind of go on, I'm doing what I like to do and I'm getting paid. So
Yeah, exactly. And you go into, but it was so funny because it said after James and Emma, I just worked part-time, and obviously I'd only be there a few days a week. But whenever you would have went in, and I was going in like refreshed after the weekend, going, hi everyone, and they're all like looking at me going, oh, for God's sake. Because and then I would have brightened their day for a few days, and then I would have went away off again, and then I would have come back a few days later while they're still going through the torture of working 40-hour, 50-hour weeks.
Yeah, isn't it funny? You know, when you come in with fresh legs, although probably for you getting away from the kids is probably it's like that's a break in itself.
That's exactly why I was skipping in through the door.
That's it. They're trying to skip out, you're skipping in. It's like, yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Tell us, what are you really good at and what are you terrible at?
I'm terrible at technology when it comes to all that kind of stuff. I'm terrible at promoting myself. I'm terrible at marketing, that kind of thing. What I'm good at, I'm great at talking. I'm good at listening. No, I'll rephrase that. I'm great at listening and I'm good at talking. I am good at seeing the potential in other people. I'm good at encouraging, supporting people. I'm good at being a mummy. I'm, even though, well, no, my kids will agree with that. They better agree with that. Now, having said that, I'd been chatting to, it was Mary Keogh was on my podcast there a few weeks ago, and what she'd been talking about her son, and it kind of triggered in my own head, going back to how I felt about James after I had him and didn't have that initial bond and stuff. And I had said, like, if I could be the mummy that I am today, if I could go back and be that mummy then, I would do it in a heartbeat. But you have to learn, like, you can't get it right. And because of working, you know, the personal development work and mindset and gratitude and all those things that we all are, we know the benefits of those, because I work on them now, which I didn't know anything about 20 years ago. You know, I said I would go back, but you can't do that. You can just learn from it. So as I said, I'd like to think I'm a good mummy. I was always a good mummy, but there would have been a period that I really questioned my parental ability.
What makes a good mummy, do you think?
Do you know what it's as simple as, and somebody had said this to me, we can tie ourselves up in knots and be full of stress and, you know, leading by example and all those kind of things. But all a child needs to see is your face light up when they walk into a room. And when that happens, when a child knows that they are unconditionally loved, I feel that they can, you know, you can buy them all the toys in the world, all the gadgets in the world, all of that there. You can live in the biggest house, which I was, and did have a big house. And you can drive fancy cars and you can go on fucking 3 holidays a year and you can do all of those things. But when your child appears and you like dismiss them, or you just don't have time for them, or all those material things, they don't matter. But when a child fundamentally, as I said, when they see your face light up, that means, back to what I'd said earlier, that they're seen. And I suppose for all of us to feel like that there, like that's, yeah, okay, I can achieve whatever I want to achieve. I can do whatever I want to do. And to believe in your children and to show them that they are capable of whatever path they take, and to not, and I see it so many, I'm now going to start to bang the table. I see it so many times. Parents living their life through their kids, in that things that they didn't achieve, dreams that they didn't fulfill, and they try to steer their child down the path that they didn't take. And I personally think that's so wrong. A child has to follow their own path, and you're there for them to pick them up if need be, but to not. And then that probably goes back to you as a person. That's where you need to then start to look at yourself and look, right, okay, what have I not, back to the starting again. If you are living your life through your child, then you need to start to look at yourself and think, right, okay, what do I need to do here? My child needs to live their life. So,
no, I mean, it's so true. And I'm struck as well. I mean, you talk about, you know, what lights your face up, and the way you described it, the veterinary surgery as well, that actually, you know, people coming in and seeing your, you know, lighting up, you know, their faces, you know, seeing you coming in as well. It's
Yeah.
a bit of a common theme there.
Yeah. Well, I have been referred to as Little Rev Sunshine, Pete. I'm not gonna lie.
That's great. Listen, that's a great way to be. I've been known to be
Yeah.
told to say I have
I've no,
have a resting bitch face, you know. So
well, my daughter Emma, she says she could give you a run for your money on that. She's perfected the resting bitch face. That is for sure. But it's hilarious because you see, whenever somebody who has got a resting bitch face, and then you happen to look at them and the smile, it is like their whole freaking face just suddenly lights up because they've gone from this. You're like going, oh my God, is she going to knife me? Is she gonna, and then this big smile, and it's like, wow. So
yeah. Tell me, would you describe yourself as intuitive? You know, you talk about listening and you talk about hearing. I mean, does intuition come into this?
Yes. I think I know I am intuitive too. I'm very much, you see, like people's energy and things like that there, I will feed off it. And people, they don't even have to say anything. Do you know the way you can just feel somebody's energy, whether it's on or off? And you know, there's some people that I said that you just can't put your finger on it. You don't know what it is. I say you may never have had a conversation with them, but there's just something about their vibe, their energy that you just can't, you know, you're clued into it. And like, even back to Emma, my daughter, she would be a very intuitive person also. Like I could even, like whenever I go to collect them from their dads, I haven't said anything and she'll just get into the car. I haven't even opened my mouth and she'll go, right, what's wrong? And I go, no, there's nothing wrong. No, I know that there is. Like, even as I said before, I don't know if it's my resting bitch face that she has seen or what it is, but she's very clued into people's emotions, people's feelings, there's something. And do you know why that? I don't know. Then this probably goes against, I'm going to contradict myself here slightly. Because I am a talker, she wouldn't be much of a talker. And I think because she talks less, she listens more and she can therefore see more of what's going on around. But maybe it's because I have kind of honed in on it more over the years that you can pick up on it a lot easier. Even though I am a talker, I still feel that I can listen and pick up a vibe or pick up an energy or somebody's mood or somebody's, if they're not really feeling what they're saying that they're feeling, and vice versa.
It's amazing, you know, as you say, you can be quite perceptive in other people as well. And you know, it's how do you find, you know, what's the easiest way or the best way for you to connect with people then?
Do you mean like on social media or in general? Like,
in general, I suppose. I mean, even through the likes of the you know, the coaching and that, you know, when you are trying to understand what they mean or they say.
I have to say, even though like you can still do like Zoom calls and things like that there, I personally think you need to be in the company of somebody to get a proper feel of, I know I say the last year you've no choice but to do it via Zoom and things like that there. But even like say like dating apps, Pete, you can't get a proper, pardon the pun, I was going to say feel for somebody. But you know what I mean? Unless you actually meet face to face and get, so while you can do it as I say online, I do prefer to meet somebody in person.
It's funny, isn't it? Is that I don't know why I had this comic sketch sort of drop into my mind where you're chatting to somebody in Zoom and then you meet them in person, and like your mother, they turn out to be 5 foot. Yeah, vision of
Yeah,
this 6-foot Goliath coming in, and yet this 5-foot person comes
yeah,
storming through the door.
yeah, you're kind of going, that's not exactly what, yeah, there's something not right here. Yeah, no, I think to get a proper feel for somebody's, you know, because online you can say what you want to say, or say what you think the person wants to hear, or whatever, but you can't, I don't think when you're sitting across from somebody, I don't think it's as easy to get away with things, because your energy doesn't lie. You know, it speaks even before you've opened your mouth.
On the coaching side, would you use that as, you know, in your toolkit? Really, is that sort of really sort of hearing and seeing the energy they're applying to different things?
Yeah, I definitely, and that's probably as well what I've missed in the last year, is actually being face to face with people, because I do think people, I don't know, do they open up more when they're actually sitting? I don't know. I miss that. I suppose that's a human interaction that we all need, is to have that connection with the person in flesh.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, you know, that sort of, yeah, that whilst we have sort of FaceTime, it's digital FaceTime, which is very different to, you know, as you say,
Yeah.
the actual, the in-person contact, you know, and what's there. What are you capable of, do you know?
I'm probably capable of more than I believe or allow myself to be capable of. Again, I know, as I said at the start, I'm, you know, all for encouraging other people, but when it comes to myself, I don't know. There's still that, I'm a work in progress. We're all works in progress. And you know, the way they'll say, like, if you could see yourself through other people's eyes, I don't know if it's a combination of not feeling enough as I was growing up, if it's a combination of that, and like the messages or the statements or the comments that would have been sort of, I would have heard throughout my marriage, sort of all comes together and has me where I am today, that I will, you know, take 2 steps forward and then I'll pull myself back. I know, like, I don't compare myself to other coaches or mentors, or everyone has their own way, unique way of doing things. But I know that I'm capable of helping people improve, feel better about themselves, feel more confident in themselves. I know that I'd be your biggest cheerleader and going, you can absolutely do whatever you put your mind to. I'm still working on believing it in myself, which is the most ironic thing, because like, there I am, you know, encouraging other people to believe in themselves, but yet there's still a part of me that is reluctant to believe in my own self.
No, listen, I think, I mean, one, I you know, I applaud you for your honesty, you know, and I think it's very common, you know, and it's like what do you call it, the cobbler's kids, you know, it's like people are quite often very good, but actually when it comes to themselves or what's going on around them, it can be hard to see your own reflection, right? You know, the way we see ourselves and the way we feel can be different. You know,
and you know what? I know there's the whole, you know, fake it till you make it and all, and I'm that within reason, yes, absolutely. But also, I don't know, you have to be honest as well with yourself in that. And I don't know, like somebody had said to me last night, like, while you're coaching or mentoring other people, you're growing alongside them. So while I am maybe 2 steps, 5 steps, 10 steps ahead of them in this particular journey, there will be things I'm sure that I will help them with, but they'll also help me with. So I'm not going to be, you know, arrogant and say, oh, I know it all, I'm brilliant at what I do, or on any of that there. I know I'm good at what I do. I know I can improve on what I'm doing. And that's what I'm, every day, what I work towards is improving in myself. As I said, every day you're learning, every day you're growing. But knowing that I can help a person where I am today, and then in 6 months' time, a year's time, I can help people, progress further as I progress further.
Well, where do you see yourself over the next 5 years? Do you plan out? Are you forward thinking that way?
I would have been very much, planning ahead. But then I think that changed whenever I took sick, because it all happened so quickly. It was like I was fine. I was dead on. I had taken a sore throat one weekend, and then it was on the Sunday. And that wee bit in the middle of between your tonsils, it had turned black. And I really probably should have went and had it looked at, but the way you're just too busy, and it'll be grand, don't worry about it. And then on the Friday, I took a severe pain in my tummy, and was taken into the local hospital. And I stayed in high dependency for a week, and had surgery because they said that my body was going to toxic shock. But at that moment, I had no control over anything. And I remember whenever I came out of surgery and I was back up on the ward, and the nurse was working away. I don't know what the frick she was doing, but I was saying to her, nurse, because it was Friday, I had put the uniforms in the washing machine before this all had kicked off. And I said to her, nurse, my uniforms are in the washing machine. And she's going, Amanda, you don't need to worry about the uniform. I said, no, you don't understand, because they'll put them in the tumble dryer. And then, so I was still thinking about freaking uniforms while I was lying up in high dependency. But my life, I had handed my control over to doctors and nurses. And I realized over a period of time, I was going, you really have no idea. You can plan ahead and plan ahead and plan ahead. And just like that, your life can turn on its head. So I would feel now, if I think too far ahead, I can actually start to feel myself getting anxious, because I'm going, no, I have to I'm living in the here now. Yes, I'll maybe think about, okay, I would like, whether it's my podcast, I would like that to be successful, or the coaching. Yes, I would like that to help as many people as I can possibly help. But if I plan, as I said, too far ahead, I start to get slightly anxious. I don't know if it's a trigger, because I'm thinking, oh no, but you can't, because life, nobody knows what's going to happen because of what happened, and because it happened so quickly. Like I said, there was no build up to it. It was just like that there, from being fine to being very much not fine. So as I say, I don't, like, even holidays or things like that, I don't, it's like, okay, no, I'm more of a spontaneous kind of person. And I think that kind of came more so from after that had happened.
I mean, overall, that sort of losing of control and things like that, I mean, how did that sit with you?
It wasn't easy, because I liked to be in control. I would have been like, I remember I would have always been so full of freaking stress. The stress was the main cause for what had happened. And I would have always been very stressed about things, and would have got very irritated very easily. So that was it was like I was just out of the rat race, and I had to just, as I say, hand over control, and there was absolutely nothing I could do about it. And that was a very steep learning curve. Now, it wasn't a case of, the way, like, when people have had near-death experiences and they're like going, oh, I just had this epiphany, and my life changed overnight. It wasn't, for me, it wasn't anything I got there. It was over time that it was one of those, Amanda, and even I went to a faith healer a few months or whatever after it, and I remember saying to him, I was like, you know what you do? You go, why? Well, why did that happen? And he said, like, whether you're into faith healing or not, whichever, he says, you needed something to stop you. And I says, well, sure, Jesus, a broken leg or a broken arm would have stopped me. And he says, no, you needed something that was just going to actually really stop you so that you would reassess and, you know, start again. So it was a case of constantly just remind, like, Amanda, you don't have to control everything. Things happen. You can tie yourself up in knots about the what ifs, but what if, but what if, but what if, but what if. You cannot control what is going to happen in a half an hour's time. You can't control what's going to happen tomorrow, next week. So just take your foot off the pedal and just, you know, again, cliche, live in the moment and stop worrying about the, but what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? What if it's going to go wrong? It's going to go wrong, whether you worry about it or whether you don't worry about it. So that was one of the huge wake-up calls that I had from that you can control. There's nothing you can control. You might think you're controlling it, but realistically, yeah, you can't. You can control your mind, like, but apart from what happens outside, it's yeah.
Where, I mean, you mentioned faith there. I mean, where do you sit on the, you know, the spirituality, religious, you know, where do you sit in that realm?
I would consider myself more a spiritual person than a religious person. I know that there's something. I do believe there is something. It's I remember, you know, back to my dad. I would have been I'm a very curious person. I'm always, but what if? No, but how did that? And why is that? And da-da-da-da. And he would have always said to me, Amanda, you just have to have faith. You don't ask any questions. And that used to drive me insane because I was going, no, but you have to ask questions. Like that doesn't make sense. And that doesn't make sense. And he says, but it doesn't have to make sense. But in my head, it needed to make sense. But I said, whether it's God, whoever, whatever, there's I do believe there's something. I do believe I've been here before. I do believe that I'll be here again. And probably it's hilarious, the wee imaginary friend, Jacqueline Binns, my birthday's on the 15th of April. And I have this real fear of water. So I have convinced myself, now there's no evidence of this, I have convinced myself that I was on the Titanic. And Jacqueline was also on the Titanic. And that's where I met her. Because I do, if I even go into, like, I don't go into swimming pools, but if I did way back, whenever the water would get so far up, I could feel myself just get really panicked. So I'm convinced I drowned in the Titanic. So.
Possible. Have you ever done any past life regression or any work?
No, but I would love to. I would really, really love to. And I do, like, I would have always got, and I think most people do get deja vu and all that kind of stuff. But I definitely, there's something, I'm going to do it.
So you're saying you have been here before?
I think so. And I remember as well, it's years ago, this girl who, she was big into, like, I'm into me angels, that talk to me angels and all that kind of stuff. And she would be one of those angel kind of people. And she told me, she said that I had a real old soul. And I said, oh, okay. And she's, yeah, it's just you have been around quite a lot. I was going, I'm not sure if I like the sound of that. But she said, no, you've had quite a few past lives. So it is something I would love to look into a wee bit more, just to see who I was or where I was, or, you know, I find that fascinating.
Talk to me about angels.
Oh, I love my angels. And I would write, well, my mom, she would write to them, but God love her, spelling wouldn't be great. So she says, dear angels. But I suppose, you know, they still get it. But I would write wee letters to them. And I don't know, I swear to God, Pete, I think sometimes they maybe go into hiding because it's like, okay, Jesus, here she is again. But I would write, like even a daddy's memory card, I would have wee letters with to me angels. Now he's added into it, so it's dear angels and daddy. And then whatever, if I'm feeling, whatever I may be feeling. And if I see in our wee feathers or things like that there, I find them. And even I don't have, I always wanted that tattoo, but I never had, I wanted it to mean something, but I don't think you'll maybe not say that, but it's a feather, and for my dad, and 3 wee hearts for my 3 kids, and the infinity sign, because I wanted something that had meaning behind it. And even after he had passed away, whenever I came home and I was going back out again to go down to mum's, there was about 5 or 6 butterflies just came flying towards me. So I don't know, I'm, you know, of course you'll have other people going, that's a load of whatever. But if it gives you some sense of comfort, or it makes you feel, we all have different things that we believe in, or we, you know, that makes sense to us, and angels make sense to me.
No, I mean, listen, it's whatever. I mean, we all have different journeys. So
Yeah.
talk to me about the sort of the change that happened there 2.5 years ago. I mean, that was significant, right?
Huge. It was, I said, well, Daddy, first of all, he passed away 7 weeks after, 5 weeks, 7 weeks after he was diagnosed. So that was like such a shock to the system. And I was a real daddy's girl. He was a special man. And yeah, I knew he was very much loved and respected and all of those kind of things. And then at the wake, and I knew he was very well known, but then at his wake, like, I know everyone, like, the wakes are always busy, but I swear to God, it just felt as if the amount of people that were, it was like, oh my God, Jesus, is this never ending? And every person had the same thing to say about him, that he was a gentleman, and he was just a 1 in a million. But, and I was very proud that he was my dad. And he was just like one of those people that had like a magnetic personality. You were drawn to him. And his eyes, he had the most amazing eyes. And there was a real twinkle in his eyes. But he was funny and kind and smart and wise. And like, this is not, you know, the way sometimes you can look at people who have passed on, and you look at them with rose tinted glasses, and you kind of just remember the good things. But these were all things that you would have said to him even when he was here. Like, he was just, and he was a tailor and a bricklayer by trade, but he was so particular. He was called Peter Perfect, because everything had to be done. Like, if his motto was, if you're going to do something, you do it right, or you don't bother. And like, even if he did a job at somebody's house, the message that always would have come through on repeat was, you wouldn't even have known he was there. It was like, we left in the morning and we came back and the kitchen was tiled, or the bathroom was tiled, and he had cleaned up after he had done it, and he had left it. It was like, Jesus, like, what the frick, how did this happen? But he was so particular, and he was just as 1 in a million. And then that was probably the kick that I needed, that life was too short, and I could continue living in a marriage that I was unhappy with, or I could, that was it, call it a day. And say we were married 19 years, and you just, I don't know, you go through the motions sometimes, and the usual line, I'll stay together for the sake of the kids, for the sake of the kids, for the sake of the kids. For me personally, and again, it comes down to what works for you and what doesn't. I felt to have kids growing up in an environment that isn't the healthiest, that's of no benefit to your kids. You're gonna, I feel, long term do more harm than good. Is it not better to have parents living separately and happy than together and making each other miserable? Okay, my ex-husband, he just felt that this came from left field. He didn't know what I was talking about or whatever, but that's neither here nor there. It was October, and I said, and I've talked about this just on my wee Instagram stories, that when it comes to ending the marriage, you don't do it on a whim. You don't. Okay, some people will, but you will do whatever you can to make it work, especially when there are kids involved. And if you feel that your marriage is coming near the end, or you are unhappy, but you still want to make it work, then don't leave any stone unturned. But if you know in your heart of hearts, right, I'm miserable, this is causing me more anxiety than anything else, then do yourself a favor and look at the other alternative. It's not easy. As I said, Daddy had passed away in September, and it was in October that I had said that I was done. Of course, my ex-husband, he thought I was just grief that I was going through, but I knew. When you know, you know. And I stayed for another, to the end of January, I think it was. And at that, I spent most of that time in my youngest daughter's bedroom, and my anxiety was going through the roof. I was hardly eating. I think I'd cried more than I had ever cried in my entire life. Obviously, there was an element of grief because with Dad passing away. And then I finally left at the end of January, and I have never once questioned it. Just near enough 2.5 years later, I have never once thought, shit, what have I done? So I suppose that kind of shows that it was the right decision. Of course, when I look at my kids, there are times you think, right, okay, how has this impacted on them? But then I see that they're still doing well, and they're still laughing, and they're still happy, and they seem well-rounded kids. And, that's all I can hope for. Who knows what the future holds, whether it will have impacted in some way, but I feel that the decision I made will benefit them more than if I had stayed, because they were watching their mum disappear. I was literally disappearing. I was, as I said, I was becoming not eating, full of stress, again, all that kind of stuff. So when they look at their mum now, who's happy, that's all they want. Is their daddy happy? I don't really know. But probably he was playing catch up. I knew in my head, I thought about it, but the actual moment where I just went, no, that's it, I'm done. And do you know what, Pete? It wouldn't have mattered if 20 people had sat in front of me going, oh, but Amanda, no, Amanda, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? Try this, try this. I was done. And I don't know, I maybe started to become really hard, because I know that's what he had said to me, that you're so hard. But that was my coping mechanism, because I knew, right, okay, but I have to be, because if I don't, and gives you some kind of sense of hope that something will be resolved when it's not going to be resolved, that's being more cruel to you than me being cold or hard. But as I said, the fact that I've never questioned it speaks volumes, I guess. And yeah, so that was the start of reinvention number 300 and whatever. But like I said, it's not easy. There's days that you're going, oh Jesus, but I never ever thought of right, let's rekindle this relationship. No.
Does control come into it?
There, on my part, or there would have been, control would have played a huge part.
I was just curious because, I mean, you mentioned control earlier, and it's kind of one of those things, and especially when something traumatic happens in your life, and obviously with your father passing in such short notice as well, it's it resets all your definitions, really, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And it is, as I said, it's that, the aha moment where you're going, right, hold on a wee second, Jesus. Like, as I said, in the space of 7 weeks, like my dad went from, okay, he was having a few issues with like a ulcer kind of thing on his leg, which then turned out that was cancerous as well. And then that was the ball rolling. But going from that to, right, okay, he has cancer in all the places that he had it, was like, what? So it definitely, and you know what, I think, the way I was saying about after I was sick, that it wasn't a case of, I had an epiphany, but I think after Daddy, that was more of a, right, Jesus, no, life's too short. Even though I had went through what I had went through, I think with what happened, Dad had more of an impact on grabbing life by the whatever, and just living life on your terms and doing what makes you happy. And I know that might sound self-absorbed and slightly selfish, but you have to. I'm not saying that I'm very much that I always put myself first or anything like that there, but I definitely do things that make me feel happy now, which I probably wouldn't have done as much, because it's all about me.
Well, I mean, to go back to, really, I suppose, the title of your podcast, what, getting into your 40 somethings, I mean, what has that taught you, or what's really sort of changed for you?
It is very much that we spend so much of our life worrying about what other people think, worrying about like the list of what ifs. And there comes that time that you have to, as I said, start to live life on your terms and do the things that you enjoy and that you want. And when you realize that people are always going to have opinions, people are always going to have something to say, but don't allow that to control what decisions you make in your own life. If you are, like as they say, like, for example, when it comes to fashion, women over 30 or over 40 shouldn't be wearing like dresses above the knee, or women over 40 should have hair a certain length, or women over 40 shouldn't dress a certain way, they shouldn't act a certain way, they shouldn't do any of that. What I said in those things are like that. If you want to have long hair, have it. If you want to, you should dress in whatever way you want to dress that makes you feel good about yourself. You do the things that make you feel good. Oh, you feel, are you still there? That was my battery. That you feel good. And what we put so much emphasis on other people. And we should just, take that emphasis off other people and put it on to what you actually want. So whenever I say, when you get to your 40s, it is that case of that you're going, here, hold on a second, stop sweating small stuff. You can't control everything that you think you can control. You tie yourself up in a ball of stress. You waste time worrying about stupid stuff that might never happen. Chances are it won't ever happen. So, do you know what I mean? Like life is for living. And I know it's not always easy. And I know, as I said, there will be curveballs will take you and pull the rug from under you more times than you care to want happen. But on the whole, life's good. And I say, when you start to do things that, back to the title of yours, put the fire in your belly, then it just makes the ride that little bit more enjoyable.
It is, isn't it? I mean, I'm just curious, you talked about there, I suppose, knowing that doing something for you as opposed to doing something for somebody else. And, how do you know that something is for you, that you're not trying to sort of please other people or vicariously seek their praise? I mean, how do you know it's for you?
I think that's where your gut comes into it. Like, whenever somebody's asked you to do something and your instant reaction is, no, I don't really want to do that, but your head's going, yeah. I don't think people trust their gut enough, and they don't realize, like, their gut is screaming out, going, but I think you instinctively know if you like, when you get enjoyment out of something, if it's making you, that feeling you get when something is good, that you're just going, yeah, oh, I love this. Whereas if whether it's a night out, whether it is maybe going to talk somewhere, whatever it may be, if you feel that you're just freaking dragging yourself along to it, and you're just going through the motions for the sake of going through the motions, and you're having that internal dialogue going, oh Jesus, this is nearly over, oh fuck, I don't want to be here, then that's kind of the red flags going, right, okay, this is not something that you want to really be doing in your life. Now, don't get me wrong, Pete, I'm not saying that you have to freaking say no to everything, but just know that it is okay to say a no. Again, that's another thing. I think so many people constantly say yes for the sake of saying yes, not because they want to do the thing, but because it's for somebody else. And yes, you can obviously help people when you can, but don't do it to the detriment of your own freaking sanity either.
No, I think it's so important, that really is, to do things on your terms and do it at a choice too. It's not, for once you bypass that and really, knowing what's there. What's a really proud moment for you?
A proud moment, obviously my babies. Also, Newry Inspire Awards was a wee awards that I organised with a friend of mine 2 years ago, and it was basically awards to recognise people who have made a difference in some way, shape or form. So never organised anything like that in my life, and I was the compere with James McGrath. I don't know if you know James McGrath, and it was in the Canal Court 2 years ago, and it was on the same date. I took sick on the 8th of November, and it was on the 8th of November, and that was why I wanted to do it on that date, because obviously the 8th of November when I took sick was a negative sort of thing, but this was a very positive thing. So standing up and comparing and seeing it all come together, that was a proud moment, I have to say.
So isn't it funny, just putting yourself out of your comfort zone, that sort of being
big time.
Who's been a really big inspiration in your life?
I suppose, and it's probably the usual answer, but probably my mum and dad, yeah. And my mum is, she's a wee, I know I keep saying she's only 5 foot, but her strength of character and her resilience and her attitude, like she is one of those people who doesn't care, and I don't mean it's in a flippant way, but she doesn't care what other people think. She has always been, look at me, I'm amazing, I'm this, I'm that, and she's never lost that. And she's had her moments, obviously, like most of us, but even after Daddy had passed away, like they'd been together from they were 16. So, and Daddy passed away when he was 72. That's a long time to be with somebody. So he was like a constant in her life for all those years. And her strength of character from that, and how she just kept going, and she continues to keep going. So I guess that's probably where I have got my resilience. And it's funny how I see that resilience in my kids as well, because that time that my dad passed away, their granny had passed away from cancer 5 weeks before. So they'd lost a granny. Then 5 weeks later, they lost my dad. And then their parents' marriage fell apart a few months after that. So that was 3 major things for 3 young kids to go through. So to see their resilience and how they have come through that, that inspires me also, I suppose, and would be proud, another proud moment, like looking at my kids, how they have dealt with all those things in such a young age for the 3 of them.
Yeah, no, it's a lot, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of harsh lessons with life, and a lot of, going through. But tell me, what would your core values be?
Respect, honesty, kindness. Respect, honesty, and kindness.
Very, very personal values.
Yeah. No, it's like kindness is one of the easiest things in the world for people to be, but so many people seem to struggle with it. And it's funny, you'll see obviously different people talking on Instagram and all that there, and people who maybe have hugely successful businesses and all that kind of stuff, and I don't know, they have this mentality that just because they have lots of money, that makes them these amazing people, but yet they maybe wouldn't have the respect or the kindness. My mentality is, I don't care if you have a fiver in the bank or you have 5 million in the bank. If your character doesn't have the respect for other people, or whether it's somebody who's homeless or whatever, or somebody who is serving in a shop, or somebody who is hugely successful, it doesn't matter. We're all people, we're all made from the same cloth, so to speak. So respect people, be kind to people, and always remain humble as well.
Yeah, makes sense. It does make sense. Tell me, what's a guilty pleasure then for Amanda?
Do I have to be really honest? I'll maybe tell you that offer. Well, I do love my wine, I have to say, and I do love my crisps, and I do love my coffee, and I do love my rom-coms on Netflix, and I pretend that I'm the main character in the hope that someday my knight in shining armor will arrive.
Red or white wine? What's your go-to?
White Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay, crisps.
Any type. I'm not very good at sharing my crisps, I have to say. I know I'm so bad. I know. Crisps. As long as there's crisps to go with the wine, I'm happy.
What's your flavor?
I do like Monster Munch, and I do like Doritos, and I do like and no, honestly, Pete, I swear, I'm like, yeah, as long as they're crisps.
They're dirty crisps. They're not proper crisps. They're like full-on dirty crisps.
What's proper crisps?
Well, one that looks like a potato, but a Monster Munch doesn't look anything like a potato.
It doesn't, but you know what? In my head, I'm thinking, okay, these are just a snack, a corn snack, so it's not, you don't feel as guilty then when you're devouring them. But there was, I can't, they're not here, I've eaten them, obviously. I was going I can't think of the ones now that, they're gone, the name's gone. But no, I really, the crisps, I'm so bad, I really am. I know, I just, and even if the kids go to take some of them, I'll break their wrist.
It's like when it comes to sharing things like that, food, yeah, if you want some, get your own, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get that. And tell me, what does leisure and pleasure look like for you?
Well, I suppose, like most, I like to social. Well, not that we've been doing much socializing, but whenever you do, I do like little spa days, and I do like wherever there's people, because I just love people. I thrive being around people, hearing people's stories, all that kind of stuff. So wherever there's people, young, handsome men, I'm happy.
Don't ask for much, do you? Really, you know?
No, I'm a simple creature. Yeah.
So tell me, I mean, if you were to describe your fire in the belly in 1 or 2 words, what would they be?
What you mean? What gives me fire in the belly?
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah, hearing other people's stories gets me just, that motivates me.
Love it. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like yourself? Do you love yourself?
Yes.
That's good. A very
I
definite
do.
yes
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I do. And probably more so now than I ever have. I'm happier with who I am, how I look, what I represent, what I stand for, more probably now than I ever have.
Wow, that's so powerful.
And it's hilarious because I'll even, I'll be looking in the mirror, and if the kids are around, I'll be going, like, seriously, do you know what I mean? Like, look at me. Don't I look freaking amazing for it? And they're like, no, okay, mama.
Well, that's it. You gotta fill your own cup too. Like, why not?
Absolutely.
Oh, I love it. Listen, tell me, where can people follow you, reach out, stalk you, hunt you down, get in touch with you?
Tinder, Bumble.
Any of the above.
And Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all inspired by Amanda Orr. And my podcast, The Trials and Tribulations of a 40-something.
Love it. Love it. There's loads going on. And tell me, is there a final message you'd like to leave with the listeners today?
Just to take back control of your own life and to start living life on your terms, what makes you happy, and yeah, what gets the fire in your belly.
Love it. Amanda, thank you for sharing. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing more about your journey. So thank you.
My absolute pleasure, Pete, and thank you so much for asking me on. It's been a joy.
Thank you.